I remember reading something about, you said your boyfriend, you know. And, I was wondering, you think, I'm kind of, a low girl, and it hooked me up, with that connection, couldn't get connected, yeah.
Let's briefly discuss Ken and his addiction. I was not watching the live that he did the other night. However, Case Studies found a section in the live stream where you can clearly hear Ken snorting a line of something. I'm gonna add that clip in really quick.
Fine.
Listen.
Almost there. You can clearly tell he was snorting a line right there. He was using a straw. It is clear as day.
Ken Urker, Gypsy Rose's lover boy, just dry snitched on her biggest shit.
Her mother knew that she could walk just fine. That's why her mother blacked out all of her windows to make sure that nobody could see her walking in her own house.
That is why her mother blacked out the windows so nobody would see Gypsy walking in the house. Now, isn't that crazy? Because Gypsy Rose said her mother would abuse her if she got up out of her wheelchair. Gypsy even went as far to say her mother took a coat hanger after her. She caught her walking. Anybody who's been deep diving this case knew damn well Gypsy Rose was walking around that house. There is not no kind of wheelchair that could have gotten through that house. And Gypsy Rose, after the murder, walked right on out that house carrying bags, no problems. If you do not use your muscles, you lose them. And Gypsy Rose's muscles were just fine, honey. Ken Urker just clarified what a bunch of us already knew, that Dee Dee was allowing her to walk around that damn house. Which raises the question, how much of her story is lies, just like the one she's been spinning about not being able to walk in front of her mother and her mother abusing her if she caught her out the wheelchair. This pokes a huge hole in Gypsy's story, especially in Gypsy's claims that she stayed in this wheelchair for fear of her mother when her mom was letting her walk around the house, even went as far as to tint the damn windows to make sure people wouldn't see her.
The internet is buzzing with a fresh wave of chaos surrounding Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken Urker. And let's just say it's the kind of mess that makes you question their priorities as parents. Rumors are swirling that Child Protective Services stormed their Louisiana home after a flood of concerned calls demanding a welfare check on their newborn daughter, Aurora Urker. Allegedly, the trigger was a recent live stream where Ken was caught vaping right next to the infant, carelessly blowing clouds of vapor in her direction. If that wasn't bad enough, some eagle-eyed viewers claim they spotted Ken doing a line of cocaine during the same stream, looking suspiciously out of it, with behavior that screamed more than just a casual vape session. The speculation is that Ken was high as a kite, and people weren't about to stay silent when a baby was in the mix. This alleged incident has painted a grim picture of a couple who seem to care more about their public image than the safety of their child. Gypsy with her history of playing the victim card, and Ken who's been riding her coattails back into the spotlight, don't exactly inspire confidence as responsible caregivers. The whispers online suggest CPS swooped in to investigate. But here's the kicker. There's no update on the situation because allegedly, CPS can't do much. Word is, Aurora might technically be under the custody of Gypsy's stepmother, Christy. And as long as Christy tests clean, Gypsy and Ken might dodge any real consequences. Let's unpack this. Vaping around a baby isn't just a bad look, it's a health hazard.
Well, if it isn't the Urk man himself gracing us with his presence. And you know Gypsy was probably sitting right next to him when he did this. Heck, it was probably Gypsy responding, her and her chat GPT. I think it's really funny that you come on here and you tell me to explain myself when you did nothing of the sort in that live. You literally danced around every question, got really irate really fast in between all those sniffles you had going on and the laughing and looking at Gypsy. And then all you did was defend her. So you want me to explain myself? Well, I just did, but I will explain myself even more when you explain what my video was even bringing to light. The fact that you're calling Fancy crazy, and I get it. I've heard some of the things that she's done. But your woman was in prison for masterminding the murder of her mother and taking advantage of an autistic man. Okay? And yeah, I'm not saying that man deserves to be out of jail because he belongs in the loony bin. But so does your girl. And I said some very choice things in that video about her, but you didn't bring that up. You ain't mad about that. You're just mad that I said you were lying and evading things. So you're not so tough to be defending Gypsy now. You care more about what we think of you. Honey, you were the one reaching out to a murderer who looked like a 12-year-old little boy while she was locked up. Trust me. What we see on TikTok isn't exactly what we think of you. But if you want us to say it, we can.
Studies have shown that secondhand vape aerosol can expose infants to harmful chemicals, increasing risks of sudden infant death syndrome, respiratory issues like bronchitis or pneumonia, and even developmental problems down the line. Aurora, barely a month old, deserves better than to be enveloped in a cloud of Ken's questionable life choices. And if the cocaine allegations are true, it's a whole new level of reckless. The idea that Ken could be using hard drugs in such close proximity to a newborn is beyond disturbing. It's a glaring red flag that suggests he's more invested in his own habits than in protecting his daughter.
We're gonna set you up with mods.
So the other night, whenever Ken was on live, worried because he needed 2,000 people in his live before he could talk.
Because my friends are willing to mod for you.
People started to notice something.
Almost there.
The baby was right next to him. As you can hear, and you will see, he reaches over to touch the baby. But that's not what concerned people. This is what had people concerned. Listen. You could clearly hear him vaping, and before anybody's like, oh my God, you're reaching, Gypsy confirmed it herself. So Gypsy, I don't know if you know this because this study did come out while you were in prison, but secondhand smoke and secondhand vaping is bad for kids and babies. Vaping in the same room as your child that's like 6 or 7 months old puts them at a higher risk for a lot of things, like sudden instant death, bronchitis, pneumonia, ear infections, asthma attacks, just to name a few. Now, as a fellow vapor, I'm not going to tell you to stop vaping, but could y'all please stop vaping around that dang baby? I know you don't care about a lot in life, but do something responsible.
Gypsy, who's no stranger to controversy, doesn't get a pass here either. Her silence on the matter, or worse, her potential complicity in letting this slide, speaks volumes about her priorities. This is a woman who's built a brand on her sob story, yet every move she makes seems to undermine any claim to redemption. The fact that she's not publicly addressing these allegations with the urgency you'd expect from a new mother only fuels the skepticism. Instead of stepping up, she's letting the rumor mill churn, and it's hard to believe she's clueless about the dangers of secondhand vape exposure, especially when she's quick to clap back at other criticisms on social media. The whole custody angle adds another layer of dysfunction. If Aurora is indeed under Christie's legal guardianship, it's a bizarre arrangement that raises questions about why Gypsy and Ken aren't fully responsible for their own child. Is it a calculated move to shield themselves from scrutiny, or just another sign of their inability to handle parenthood? Either way, that's a convenient loophole for a couple who've made a career out of dodging accountability. Christie might be the designated clean adult in the eyes of CPS, but that doesn't erase the fact that Gypsy and Ken are the ones in the spotlight, making choices that directly impact Aurora's environment. The lack of transparency about the CPS visit, whether it happened, what was found, or what comes next, only deepens the distrust. Gypsy's track record of manipulating narratives doesn't help her case. Every time she's faced criticism, she's spun it into a story of persecution rather than owning up to her mistakes. And Ken, who seems content to play the supportive partner while making questionable decisions on live camera, isn't doing himself any favors. This isn't just about a vape pen or an alleged drug habit. It's about a pattern of behavior that puts a vulnerable infant at risk.
You can clearly tell he was snorting a line right there. He was using a straw. It is clear as day. Listen to it again.
Almost there.
We need to talk about this because this should not be ignored. Ken was on live stream using drugs right in front of the child. You can hear the baby in the background. She was right there. Somebody commented that it was possibly a vape. That is not the sound of inhaling a vape. That is the sound of something being up the nose. This is no longer about Gypsy and Ken. This is about the safety and well-being of that child that they decided to bring into this world that did not ask to be here. Have you seen this clip that's circulating around? If they're bold enough to do this on live stream with the baby right there, imagine what they're doing off camera. I want to be clear. I understand and I recognize that addiction is a disease. I've been there as well. And I know how troubling this is. So this is not about bashing him and what he's going through. This is about the safety of the child.
The online backlash has been fierce, and rightfully so. People aren't just upset about the vaping or the rumored drug use, they're fed up with Gypsy and Ken's apparent disregard for the gravity of parenthood. Social media is flooded with comments calling them out, from worried fans to outright critics who see this as another chapter in Gypsy's saga of poor choices. The fact that they're allegedly hiding behind Christie's custody to avoid CPS consequences only adds fuel to the fire. It's a stark reminder that Gypsy, despite her claims of wanting to be a better mother than her own, seems to be stumbling at the first hurdle. And Ken, who's been painted as the stable one in this rekindled romance, is starting to look like just another enabler in her chaotic world. Honestly, if they're going to keep broadcasting their lives for clout, maybe they should invest in a parenting class instead of a vape pen. The audacity of it all is enough to make you wonder if they're deliberately trying to stir up controversy or if they're just that clueless about basic infant safety. Viewers didn't miss a beat, pointing out Ken's suspicious behavior, hiding his face from the camera, sniffling like he's got more than just a cold, and acting jittery in a way that's raised eyebrows. Some are whispering that he wasn't just vaping, but might have been under the influence of something far more serious, like cocaine based on his erratic demeanor.
Sobriety isn't optional when you have a baby that's relying on you. And I said in another video that I would not put it past Gypsy to enable this addiction in order for her to keep more of a control of Ken and keep him right beside her. Let's also address that Ken looks remarkably similar to her father, Rod. Rod also had an addiction to drugs and alcohol, and Gypsy clearly knew about it. Now, everyone says that Dee Dee was keeping Gypsy away from Rod. If it is true that Rod was using during Gypsy's early adolescence and well into her adult age, that's probably the reason why Dee Dee did not want Gypsy around Rod, because he was an active drug user.
These aren't wild theories pulled from thin air. The rumors have been fueled by none other than Gypsy's own family, with her stepmother Christy allegedly hinting at Ken's past struggles with substance use during her own live streams. It's a messy situation when your own relatives are the ones airing your dirty laundry, only for Gypsy and Ken to turn around and cry foul about misinformation spreading online. What's particularly infuriating is the couple's apparent refusal to take accountability. Gypsy has been quick to clap back at critics, dismissing concerns as clickbait and insisting Aurora is safe and healthy. But words don't erase the image of Ken allegedly blowing vape clouds around a baby, or the unsettling possibility that he was high during a public stream. It's not just about one bad decision, it's about a pattern of behavior that raises red flags. Gypsy's past is no secret. She's built a public persona on overcoming abuse and incarceration, yet every step she takes seems to invite more scrutiny. Her relationship with Ken, rekindled after a messy divorce from Ryan Anderson, has been a lightning rod for criticism. And moments like this don't help. Ken's role as the supportive partner feels increasingly shaky when he's allegedly engaging in behavior that puts their daughter at risk. And let's not gloss over the family dynamics here. If Christy is out there dropping hints about Ken's issues, it's not just content creators stirring the pot, it's an inside job. The fact that Gypsy and Ken seem more focused on deflecting blame than addressing these serious allegations only deepens the skepticism. Why not take the vape outside? Why not prioritize Aurora's health over a live stream? It's hard to see this as anything but a desperate grab for attention, no matter the cost to their child's well-being.
I would not allow my child around an active drug user either. So we can't fault Dee Dee if she was keeping Rod away. She was doing it out of protection, not out of any malice or because she didn't want him to know what was going on. But there are pictures where you see them together. So maybe it was you can only come and see Gypsy if you're sober or whatever. Because I would have those same stipulations if the father of my child was on DRUGS as well. Like, you can't come and see the child unless you're sober. And this isn't only about Gypsy and Ken. This is about how society minimizes red flags when it comes to people with a public following. If this were some random parent in your neighborhood or someone else that you follow on live stream using DRUGS, CPS would have already been called. If this was somebody in your neighborhood, CPS would have already been called. This is not gossip. This is not tea. This is a baby's well-being. And if we don't talk about this now, how many more lives do we let fall through the cracks just because the parents have a following or a sob story? We need to stop glamorizing dysfunction and start holding people accountable, because that baby deserves stability, not chaos live streamed for likes and dollars.
All right, leaving all that terrible news behind, let's catch you up on the absolute circus that unfolded yesterday with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Ken Urker, and Ryan Anderson, because this drama is serving fresh chaos daily. Ken's latest live stream was a masterclass in chest-puffing bravado, as he took vicious swipes at Ryan, claiming the guy has no personality beyond clinging to his past with Gypsy. It's a brutal jab, but the hypocrisy is glaring. Ken's out here acting like he's above the fray, yet his entire identity seems to hinge on playing Gypsy's defender in this never-ending soap opera. His obsession with challenging Ryan to a live-streamed boxing match, where he's oh so confident he'd come out on top, reeks of a guy desperate to cement his place as Gypsy's leading man. You have to wonder if Ken's bravado is fueled by genuine belief in his tough guy persona, or if he's just basking in the glow of being Gypsy's current favorite, a role that seems to inflate his ego to match her own self-obsessed orbit. And let's not kid ourselves. Gypsy is the one pulling the strings, thriving on the attention this feud generates while she sits back, smirking at the chaos she's orchestrated.
And Gypsy, as the mother, it's her job to protect the child at all costs. And her need and her desire to have Ken in her life is clearly coming before the safety and well-being of her own baby. And that's the most alarming part, because she allowed him to use right in front of the child. Was Gypsy also using, or is this a way of Gypsy using covert control through codependency and addiction? Because there's a difference between supporting someone through recovery and making sure they get better, and there's also a difference in enabling the behavior so that they don't get better and that they're dependent on you. And from what it sounded like Gypsy was definitely enabling the addiction. And this is a form of subtle control. Gypsy has a history of trauma. And when you haven't healed, and she clearly hasn't, chaos can sometimes feel like connection. And keeping Ken close, even if he is using, may feel safer than being alone or being with someone that she can't manipulate. And I'm sure Ken is a lot easier to manipulate when he is under the use of DRUGS. Most people are. And if Gypsy is turning a blind eye, or worse, actively excusing his behavior, Gypsy might be using Ken's addiction to keep the power dynamic lopsided. I'll protect you if you don't leave me. If you protect me. That's not love. That's leverage. That's emotional manipulation. That's emotional blackmail.
The livestream took a curious turn when Ken addressed whispers about a non-disclosure agreement tied to his and Gypsy's projects. He laughed off the idea, calling it ridiculous and questioning who would even suggest such a thing. But Gypsy, hovering in the background like the director of this reality show, casually threw her stepmother Christy under the bus, implying Christy might have mentioned an NDA in one of her own live streams. Except it wasn't a might-have situation. Christy flat out said Ken and Gypsy had an NDA in place, and even lamented that Gypsy didn't have one with Ryan to prevent him from leaking their private emails. Ken's quick dismissal, chalking it up to Christy misspeaking, feels like a flimsy excuse. For someone so close to Gypsy, Christy's not just tossing out random gossip. Her comments raise serious questions about what Gypsy and Ken are hiding. It's almost comical how they think a casual shrug can brush off such a bombshell. Gypsy's influence is all over this. Her knack for dodging accountability has clearly rubbed off on Ken, turning him into a sidekick who's just as skilled at sidestepping tough questions as she is. Ken's transformation is honestly kind of tragic. The guy who once seemed like a grounding force in Gypsy's turbulent life now looks like he's been fully sucked into her vortex of drama. His livestream demeanor, jumpy, rapid-fire talking, and visibly on edge, suggests someone who's struggling to keep up with the chaos Gypsy thrives on.
And then let's talk about their public persona versus their private reality. While Gypsy is out here building a brand, trying to rebrand herself as some kind of inspirational figure to look up to and new beginnings and all this bullshit, if she's allowing use around Aurora, we have to ask, what is she really protecting? The baby or the fantasy of having a partner who needs her? And it sounds like the latter. Accountability actually looks like helping someone recover. And that means setting boundaries, seeking help, and protecting your child. Not going live with a man who might be high while using substances right there while your child is in the background. This is not love. This is enabling toxic behavior. Let me know what you think about that clip. Have you seen it? Was this the first time? I got it off a Case Studies YouTube channel. Somebody sent it to me last night and I didn't have the wherewithal and the mind to talk about it last night, so I wanted to make sure that I did talk about it. I am going to be doing a little bit of a longer video discussing this again, the patterns, all of these things. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you've been a user, did it sound like that's what was happening, or do you think he was just using a vape? Didn't sound like a vape to me, because a vape, inhaling a vape doesn't normally sound like that, but I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will say that I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. His attitude, his behavior, everything on that live stream pointed to him using drugs.
Social media didn't miss it, with users pointing out his restless energy and speculating he's in way over his head. He's a new dad to Aurora, born in December 2024, and you'd think fatherhood might anchor him. Instead, he's out here picking fights with Ryan and waving off serious allegations about NDAs, all while Gypsy eggs him on from the sidelines. It's hard not to see her self-absorption rubbing off, turning their relationship into a mirror of her need for constant validation. Ken's not just along for the ride. He's fully bought into Gypsy's world, where drama is currency and accountability is optional. The family dynamics only make this messier. Christy's role, from spilling NDA tea to staying deeply entangled in Gypsy's public feuds, suggests she's just as invested in this spectacle as the main players. It's no surprise that Gypsy's father, Rod, reportedly isn't Ken's biggest fan. Can you blame him? Ken's antics, calling out Ryan, denying agreements, and playing the tough guy, hardly scream, stable partner. Rod likely sees what's obvious to anyone watching. Ken and Gypsy are cut from the same cloth, both feeding off the chaos that keeps their names trending. Their relationship, built on public spats and sneaky texts, feels more like a performance than a partnership, with poor Aurora caught in the middle of their spotlight chasing.
Maybe Gypsy's going to kick Kenny Boy to the curb and take Aurora. Ryan, listen up. Here's your chance. So let's rewind just a little bit. So Ken has been on here admitting that when Gypsy gets mad, she makes up lies. She's vicious. She says evil things. And that's when he chalked up the things that she said about him in her emails. She was emotional. She was angry. Okay, well, that's a dangerous person. We all know what happened the last time she got emotional and angry. Her mama. Anyways, okay. So Ken, remember, there was a time when Gypsy wanted to take Aurora to meet Ryan. And Ken said no. And he got all mad and angry and he threatened Gypsy and told Gypsy that if she did that, he was going to take Aurora, move to Texas, and leave. And Gypsy wouldn't have anything to do with them. That's cute. You're still listening, Ryan? I'm telling you, your chance is coming. Hang in there. So Gypsy, that threat is the only reason why Gypsy didn't take Aurora to meet Ryan. Okay, just making sure you're still listening. Now, Gypsy, it's your turn to listen up. Ken can't do that.
Meanwhile, Ryan's trying to convince everyone he's moving on, mentioning a new woman he's interested in during his own live stream. He's careful to say she prefers privacy, which is almost laughable after his roller coaster with Gypsy. The internet's already buzzing, trying to unmask this mystery woman, because nothing stays private in Gypsy's orbit. Ryan's attempt at a fresh start feels hollow when he's still airing details about his past with Gypsy, proving he's just as tethered to her drama as Ken is. Gypsy, as always, comes out on top, her ego likely soaring knowing both men are still wrapped around her finger. Her ability to keep Ken and Ryan at each other's throats, with family members like Christy and even former friends like Rachel Garlick fanning the flames, is a testament to her skill at staying relevant. This isn't just a love triangle. It's a carefully curated spectacle, with Gypsy as the star, director, and scriptwriter. So, what's next? Will Ken and Ryan actually throw punches? Or is this just another stunt to keep us glued to our screens? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't miss the end of this video. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this drama's got more plot twists than a telenovela, and I'm not missing a single one.
Ken can't do that. See, in Texas, if two parents aren't married and paternity has been established, in this case, it's still a question, is it Ken or a turkey baster? But anyways, you're saying it's Ken. Okay, great. Well, in Texas, if you guys lived in Texas, there's nothing anybody could do. You could take Aurora, he could take Aurora. In Texas, both parents have the same amount of rights until a custody agreement is put in place. Well, in Louisiana, it's a little different. If two parents aren't married, mama automatically has sole custody. That means mama gets to decide where baby lives. Mama gets to decide what baby wears, eats, drinks, go to school, all of it. All of it. So even though y'all have determined that Ken is the daddy, that poor turkey baster, even though you have determined that Ken is the daddy, until he goes to court and gets some sort of custody papers in order, or until he puts a ring on your finger, which that hasn't happened yet either, you have sole custody. He can't take Aurora. Ryan, this is your big chance. So Gyp, you still want Aurora to meet Ryan? Ken can't stop you. And from the way I see it, girl, come on now. Ken's living off of you. He is living the high life because of the money you have for murdering your mother. Okay, I know you're a little younger than me, but I need you to go listen to the TLC song, No Scrubs. I need you to listen to that, and I need you to look at Ken really good. But in the meantime, Ryan can't wait to meet Aurora.
The drama surrounding Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Ken Urker, and Ryan Anderson is a tangled web of accusations, heartbreak, and calculated chaos that keeps the internet hooked on their every move. It's as if Gypsy has mastered the art of orchestrating a real-life soap opera, with each twist carefully crafted to ensure she remains the focal point of the narrative. The latest chapter in this saga revolves around a bizarre boxing match challenge that Ken issued to Ryan, a move that feels less like a genuine call to settle scores and more like a publicity stunt designed to keep the spotlight firmly on Gypsy's tumultuous love triangle. Social media posts have captured the public's reaction, with many users rolling their eyes at the absurdity of two grown men potentially duking it out over a woman who seems to revel in their rivalry. The theatricality of it all is almost laughable, Ken casting himself as Gypsy's knight in shining armor, while Ryan, still licking his wounds from their divorce finalized in December 2024, is baited into a fight he's unlikely to accept. Yet Gypsy's role in this spectacle is undeniable. By keeping lines of communication open with Ryan, even as she builds a life with Ken and their daughter Aurora, born just last December, she ensures both men remain caught in her orbit, their emotions tethered to her every whim.
To get a hold of Gypsy about your feelings to her instead of Gypsy herself. I'm curious about that because it was Christy that revealed it to Gypsy. Why is it that you went to Christy instead of just Gypsy herself? I'm just curious.
I didn't go to Christy for anything. I mean, me and Christy have retained a relationship of communication over the last several years, and there's nothing.
I was just calling texting you to check in, and Ken checked in.
What?
Just to see how you were doing, and I was like, doing great. He's like, that's all I want.
Okay.
He just worried, and you can't blame him.
Yeah.
But he had told me that if he loved you enough, he needed to let you go so you could find yourself. That's what he told me he did.
Something is very off and odd the way Kenny answered the question why he went to Christy before even talking to Gypsy. I don't know, guys. I feel like there's not a lot of truth being told in this one, because in the show, Christy clearly says that she was the first one to talk to Kenny and made them reunite. So let me know what you think, guys. Do you think there's more to the story than's being told? Let me know.
It's a classic power play from someone who seems to measure her relevance by the intensity of the chaos she creates. Gypsy's ability to keep both men emotionally entangled is nothing short of strategic. Her tearful TikTok video from May 2025, where she called out Ryan for leaking private texts from January, paints her as the betrayed victim, but the reality is far more layered. Those messages, where she admitted to feeling lost and questioning what is real just weeks after giving birth, were sent to Ryan behind Ken's back, feeding his hope of reconciliation while she publicly declared her devotion to Ken. It's a move that reeks of manipulation, as she plays both men against each other, ensuring neither can fully move on. Her public displays of vulnerability, like the emotional video where she lamented the loss of trust with Ryan, feel less like genuine heartbreak and more like a performance designed to keep viewers invested in her story. The irony is striking. Gypsy cries about her privacy being violated while airing every detail of her life on reality shows like Gypsy Rose, life after lockup, and social media platforms. It's a contradiction that defines her. She craves the spotlight but cloaks herself in the role of the wounded party, a persona that keeps her audience captivated and her critics divided.
Somebody emailed Gypsy Rose back in 2019 and basically called out the way they portray Nick. He's just some terrible guy. Gypsy Rose is just poor, pitiful me, girl who can't think or do nothing for herself. Let's get into it. Now, this person starts off and says, look, so-and-so is lying to you. Nick has never said anything bad about you, and he didn't say anything in the Oxygen special about you. Go on to say that Nick wishes nothing but the best for Gypsy and whoever she was seeing right then. He wishes them nothing but happiness and love. Nick says he doesn't want to bother you. He doesn't want to hinder you. He don't want to see nobody talk bad about you either. He just wants to focus on his appeals, honey. This person goes on to say, I think blank tries to manipulate you. She paints the picture she wants society to see you as. Poor innocent Gypsy who cannot think for herself, has mental health problems, needs the world to see her in a certain light. That's so spot on. If you want to read all of it, you can. I'll skip down here. She says, however, I do not think it is right. She is being so horrible to Nick and lying on him so much. She wants to advocate for Munchausen by proxy, sharing your story. I don't think she needs to belittle Nick in the process or lie to you. I'm not trying to start trouble. You can feel how about Nick however you want. It's really sad that to bring light and awareness to your situation, they have to degrade Nick and lie to you about Nick. I don't know what they be telling Gypsy about Nick that is a lie. I don't know. Then Gypsy says, I myself do not belittle him anymore. He and I parted on good terms, and I wish him no ill will. Like, Gypsy, who are you lying to? I have not ever seen you say one good thing about Nick. You have literally always dragged him. Literally, ever since you took your plea deal, you were done. Washed your hands with him, really threw him under the bus, and did everything so that society would see you as poor, pitiful Gypsy. You leaned into that fuck role so hard. It was like you were back in the wheelchair. It was like, oh, we're right back where we started. Putting on a show, honey. You have no problem stomping on anybody and everybody to get that show. As long as it's focused on Gypsy, that's all that matters. That is all that's ever mattered. To act like in this email, you didn't help further that agenda, doing everything you could to make Nick look horrible while you tried to make yourself look like poor, pitiful me. I was so innocent. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I thought it was love. You're just a phony. A big fat phony.
The accusations flying around only deepen the mess. Ryan, in a recent TikTok live stream, pointed to Gypsy's traumatic childhood under her mother Dee Dee's Munchausen by proxy abuse as the reason for her skewed perceptions. He claims Gypsy misinterpreted a story he shared about an ex-girlfriend, twisting it into something scandalous because of her own past experiences with inappropriate behavior. It's a convenient deflection, pinning the blame on Dee Dee, who can no longer respond, while painting Gypsy as emotionally unstable. Yet there's a bitter irony here. Gypsy has built her public persona on her victimhood, turning her tragic past into a platform for fame, yet she seems perfectly content letting others use her late mother as a scapegoat to explain away her own questionable decisions. Ryan's not done airing his grievances either. He's admitted that Gypsy's jealousy, once a spark that fueled their romance, has become a source of frustration, driving her to make baseless accusations that keep their feud alive. This possessiveness, it seems, isn't just a personality quirk. It's a tool Gypsy wields to keep both Ryan and Ken emotionally tethered, their rivalry feeding her need to stay relevant.
So you want me to take my shit down, right? Okay, how about don't you quit talking about me. It's been 3 fucking months since I texted you. And you're spiraling out of control.
I just want y'all to keep in mind, that's what Ken is fighting over. And he literally sat on that live the other day and said she didn't cheat. She was just, talking to someone. She admitted to be in contact with her husband at the time. And then remember, she did that whole video, the crying escapade, about how, he was her comfort. And that's why she reaches out to Ryan, because he comforts her. What is really happening? You out of control. You spiraling out of control. Father God in heaven. That is what folks is arguing over, child.
As this whirlwind of drama surrounding Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken Urker continues to unfold, the rumors about CPS storming their home over concerns for Aurora's safety are still just that, rumors with no official updates to confirm or deny what went down. But I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for any new developments in this chaotic saga. And if anything juicy drops, I'll be back with all the tea. Gypsy's knack for staying in the headlines, whether it's through questionable parenting choices or her never-ending love triangle, guarantees there's more to come. Thanks so much for diving into this wild ride with me, you guys. It's been a lot. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update. And hey, check out those videos popping up on your screen for more drama-filled content to keep you hooked. Have an awesome day, and I'll catch you in the next one.